Kevin Kugler with us from Westwood One Radio. Kevin called, you heard him all over our air this weekend, called that historic UMBC over UVA, also got to call Texas A&M over North Carolina. Kevin, how are you on this Monday?
I'm well, Pete. How are you?
Good, thank you. I know it was I'll start with this. I know it was kind of old home week for you in Charlotte, right? Let's see, who were the people? Matt Schick had Omaha ties, and there was a picture I saw of you and him there. You had to sit next to John Bishop. I saw that funny picture of this is way too close to John Bishop, who's an Omaha radio personality. And last but not least, Rick Allen was there, our old pal Rick Allen, who used to do the voice at Memorial Stadium, was the PA voice, and now works with NASCAR.
It was a heavy Omaha weekend with Omaha beckoning in the regional this next weekend. It was a heavy Omaha weekend with Creighton in town for, albeit a brief moment, before they got knocked off by Kansas State on Friday night. But it was good to see a lot of the old folks from the home ground.
Now you've negotiated, right? Your next round, you get a home game, basically.
I do. I will be in Omaha next weekend. We've got some tremendous stuff coming to Omaha as far as Duke and Kansas. Syracuse, the surprise team coming to Omaha, should be good.
So Kevin Kugler's with us, calls history. Now, let's get into that game first and foremost. I don't, unless you went there, and even if you went there, I doubt there were many people that were picking UMBC in their bracket to beat. It's never happened before. Just what that was like as you got through that game and it started to become a reality for you.
Well, it was something. I mean, you never expect anything when you go into a game. I mean, you go into a game expecting certain things, and you certainly don't expect a 16 to beat a 1 because obviously it had never happened before. But man, it was something. It was very cool to see that happen, to watch it unfold, to see the excitement on the faces of those kids when they started to realize that it was going to happen for them, for the coaching staff. I mean, it was a neat moment. It's why we keep coming back to these tournaments and college sports in general, is because just when you think you've got it all figured out, something happens that makes you realize you don't have any idea what's going on.
Kevin, one of the things that stood out to me with the Virginia game was that without DeAndre Hunter, it looks like they just had no oomph off their bench. It just seemed like when they went to the bench, it just was not the same. Whereas UMBC, they just were able to, no matter who they put out there, they were running at 100%, whereas Virginia looked like they were just not.
Yeah, they certainly missed Hunter. I mean, there's no question about that. And there was a short amount of time to get ready to change your rotations without him. It's a big loss. It was a big loss. And without him, obviously Virginia had a really hard time coping. And the other situation was Virginia just had a really hard time defending. They did a good job, UMBC did, in getting guys isolated, getting Lyles to the basket. They stayed aggressive. You know, one of the things you see with these teams when they are on the cusp of pulling an upset that sometimes thwarts their upset chances is they get conservative. They'll back things out. They'll play the clock instead of playing the game. And UMBC kept playing the game. They kept driving to the basket. They weren't afraid to take it in and score. If there was an open look, they'd shoot it. I mean, and it helped that shots fell for them. I mean, look at what happened on Sunday. They got some opportunities on Sunday. They were in the game with their defense against Kansas State, but the shots that fell on Friday didn't fall on Sunday, and thus UMBC's Cinderella run ends in the round of 32. But anytime you can hit shots, your life is a lot better as a player or a coach. And certainly on Friday, they were able to hit shots in spades, and they were able to hit enough to drive Virginia out of the tournament with the biggest upset we've seen.
For you, from your perspective, which was more of a crazy one-side affair? Was it the UMBC beating Virginia, or was it the Texas A&M destruction of North Carolina?
Well, it was honestly, it was that game. I mean, that was more of a beatdown, I thought, because I mean, look at the UMBC Virginia game. That was close. It was tied at halftime. It was close early in the second half, and then UMBC started to slowly pull away as the game went along. North Carolina was in trouble early in that game. They didn't hit shots. They didn't hit shots early. They didn't hit shots in the middle. They didn't hit shots late. And as that game continued and progressed, it became very apparent that North Carolina was not going to hit shots, and North Carolina was not going to win that game. That game was almost, to me, as surprising. I know it won't be as surprising seed-wise, but you don't expect North Carolina to lose a game in North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. And not only did they lose, They got pummeled by a bigger team in Texas A&M, but a Texas A&M team that has had its issues all year long. They've lost guards in the backcourt. They're running a freshman out there because they have nobody else to run at point guard, and T.J. Starks played a tremendous tournament over the first 2 games for the Aggies. And they took North Carolina out. Big surprise to see the defending national champs bow out as early as they did with so much expectation that Joel Berry and Theo Pinson and company could lead that team down the road again towards San Antonio.
There's a lot of conversation coming into the tournament, Kevin, about the fact that this tournament had so much parity. They would not be too surprised if there were so many upsets. But yet, at the end of the day, we're still surprised by some of the upsets. So from your eye as a broadcaster, do you feel like there is as much parity as people inferred coming into this tournament? Or do you think some of these games are just a result of, matchups?
Well, part of it's matchups. Always in the tournament, it's matchups. I mean, no matter what the seed is, matchups can certainly tell a big tale. I do think we have more parity, though. I think it's easier than ever to have a player or a couple of players in college basketball, and I think you see those players spread out more. The top-end teams don't have the long-standing top-end talent that stays 2 or 3 years and is able to develop like we saw 20 years ago. Everybody's got some talent. Everybody has some youth, and it's really spread out a little bit more. I do think there's more parity now, and I think it was reflected in this tournament. I think it was reflected throughout the course of the year in college basketball. There were not a lot of dominant teams. You didn't look at this tournament bracket, even when it came out, and say, oh, boy, that team's just so much better than everybody else. Now, I think there have been a couple in the first days of the tournament that have looked better than everybody else. I think Villanova looks like the best team right now in this NCAA tournament, but that's after one weekend. I mean, that very well could change once we get into next weekend Sweet 16, because that's kind of where we are in college basketball right now. I think the world is much more even from a college basketball standpoint. It certainly was in the regular season, and I think it's continuing in this tournament.
Kevin Kugler with us from Westwood 1. You heard his call right here on 97.3 ESPN, and you hear him during the NFL season as well. Plus, we're going to hear you for the Masters again, too, Kevin?
Oh, you are. I'll be there.
Always on the move, Kevin Kugler. So you're talking about the Sweet 16, Kevin, and who's left. And 11 seeds, if you're looking for underdogs, the 2 11 seeds, it's hard to call Syracuse an underdog, but they are an 11 seed. You'll see them up close and personal. And then that's a Creighton alum at Loyola Chicago and Porter Moser. What did you think about Loyola Chicago winning a couple of games?
How about that? I mean, that I think is going to develop into one of the better stories that we'll see in the Sweet 16. We always like to latch on in the media to one of those stories. I think Loyola Chicago's got the chance to be one of those stories, especially in that South region. I mean, on paper, it looks like it's open now for Kentucky to make a run at the Final Four of all things, but I don't know that you can really count out anybody right now out of that South region. In Atlanta this weekend, our guys, Brandon Gaudman, Coach Thompson, are going to have a very interesting region to call. And Loyola is one of those teams that I'm not going to rule them out. Why not? I mean, in this tournament, why couldn't an 11 like Loyola make another push, make another run, get another game or two under their belt, and try to make a stab at going to the Final Four? It'd be one of the great stories in college basketball if Loyola Chicago, the team that replaced Creighton in the Missouri Valley Conference when Creighton went to the Big East, led by a former Creighton guy in Porter Moser, would make the Final Four, and to do it having to beat one of the Blue Bloods in Kentucky to get there. I mean, it'd be one of those great underdog stories that we all really love about the tournament. And why not? In this tournament, I'm never going to say, oh, it can't happen, because what we've always said can't happen has already happened. So why couldn't something else weird happen?
So we've got a year, Kevin, where the Eagles won the Super Bowl. We'll throw that in for our listening audience first and foremost. And now a 16 beats a 1. Everybody's like, I can't. This is the year of unbelievable sports moments. But you got to be a part of that. What's the next unbelievable sports moment? Tiger's going to win the Masters again?
Boy, the Masters is what I'm excited about right now. I mean, look, I'm excited about the NCAA Tournament because I think we've got 2 great weeks of basketball left. But the Masters field, I mean, my gosh, now you can't say Tiger's a fluke anymore. Back-to-back tournaments where he's been not only competitive but in contention on Sunday of each tournament. Obviously hasn't won them, but you've got Rory who's got a win under his belt now. You got Phil who's got a win under his belt on the tour this year. You've got Tiger who's all of a sudden playing great again. You've got all this young talent that goes into Augusta National. Be ready for something dramatic and exciting to happen at Augusta National this year. All signs are pointing to something ridiculous happening at Augusta National, and I cannot wait for it, because Tiger, if he's around on Sunday at Augusta, it's just a different feel. It's a great tournament without him. It's a phenomenal tournament when he's there in his Sunday red making a charge. There's nothing quite like it when Tiger's going strong at Augusta National.
Paint the picture for us of what Masters Week is like for Kevin Kugler.
Well, it starts with Final Four week, and it starts with the national championship game on Monday night. We do that, and then Tuesday, get up in the morning, usually pretty early, and head over to Augusta and get settled there, and spend the rest of the day getting ready. Spend Wednesday on the course, starting our pre-tournament stuff, do our pre-tournament show. Check out the course, usually walk the course, take a few pictures because you can on Wednesday. You cannot during play on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't even bring my phone or camera out. You can't. And I just leave it in my bag back in our compound. I don't even bother to bring it onto the course. And then Thursday through Sunday, it's golf, golf, golf. You get out there, you watch a lot of the best in the world on the best course in the world in great weather, we hope, knock on wood. And I mean, it's the best week of the year. There's no question about it because it's the official, for me, it's the official turning of my page from winter to spring, and I do it all in 1 week. I close the winter sports schedule with the national championship game, and then I turn it over to the spring sports schedule with the Masters in that same week.
So there's the Westwood 1 Gulfstream gassed up and ready to go from San Antonio to Augusta.
Usually we name them different things like United or Delta or American. You know, we like to get catchy, and sometimes we'll even let, 150 other people on our plane just because we can.
Very friendly, very Midwestern of you. Before I let you go, the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. You do a lot of work with the NFL and calling NFL games. Did you ever think I'd be able to utter that statement, Kevin Kugler?
I feel like there is a contractual obligation for you at least 3 times an hour on the show just to mention that the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions, because it's twice in this conversation that you've happened to drop that little nugget in, and I think it's great. Drop it in more. You know what? As someone who waited his entire life to see his professional sports team as a Chicago Cubs fan win a World Series, and I will still harp on that because, as I think everyone knows, they are the defending National League World Series champions. That's a thing, you know. So I'm riding that. You may as well enjoy the actual real World Championship, which the Eagles have. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. It was a tremendous season for the Eagles, and you know, I don't want to put any expectations on Philadelphia, but why not make another run this next season? I mean, enjoy it now, but why not make another run?
They're certainly trying. Kevin Kugler with us. Thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate catching up with you, and we'll try to catch up with you down the road, I hope.
Have a good rest of the show. See you.